All right, I'm Nick. Today we are going to make a quick video. I'll probably ramble a little bit because that's what I do, but we are going to give you a quick overview of the brand new Old Town Sportsman 120 PDL Pro. Maybe it's a PDL 120 Pro, okay? Names are getting crazy. This is the ePDL version, so it comes with the ePDL Plus and a battery. If you buy the regular pedal drive version, the only difference is you don't get a battery, the pedal drive is different, and then it doesn't come with the power ports or the kill switch magnet or the kill switch stuff. Those are just blank plates, okay? But we're gonna use the ePDL as our example for today. I'll be honest with you, I haven't consumed more than like 3 minutes of content about this kayak, okay? Been busy, and a lot of times the stuff you see in the media marketing stuff is just, I don't know, kind of doesn't give you a great example. So I'd rather just see it for myself, okay? We're gonna start from front. We're gonna go backwards. We're gonna take our time though. We're gonna be pretty thorough. We're gonna pull this off here in a second and show you too. So you got an anchor plate right here. Now this will allow you to mount like the new Tarova that Minn Kota released, or any other kayak trolling motor you want to put up here. You'll be able to put like an anchor wizard chute up here down the road, all that good stuff, whatever you want to do, okay? So lots of options. It's nice to have those inserts installed. Now, for whatever you mount right there, you get a larger through hole. Now, this is kind of a cool design. It will work for some folks for sure. Probably won't work for everybody because sometimes the cord sizes are wild. But if you look right here, you can drill this out or cut this out and then cut a slot wherever and just slide the wire that you need through there, put this all back together and tighten it back down, right? How will it hold up? How will it really do once it actually sees the real world and then there's wires that are thicker than this? I don't know. We will probably go off and create aftermarket solutions for that. That way it fits the wire that you're using perfectly and you don't run into any issues, okay? So if that's needed or you need a different size hole than that, just let us know. We'll make it happen. I'm gonna run this down real quick. That way we don't lose any of these screws. But that is nice. It's nice to have that hole pre-drilled right there. I am interested to see how those cable sizes do in that location. We'll come back to this drill later. Oh look, a front handle with a track. That's nice. That'll do you some favors, help you out, let you mount your GoPro, whatever. And then we have this enlarged area right here, okay? This does give you easier access to the front. It will allow you to put more stuff in here. You have a bungee right here. Obviously, your prop can go right there. For years, we've just been tying it off to this, so that's nice. Nice way to store it. You actually have rod tube storage in here, okay? And you can see these in here. You have 2 rods on each side. That storage extends into the front of the kayak. That way you aren't breaking any guides in here and there's no water getting in, okay? That's nothing new. It's been being done by kayak companies for a long time. It's nice to see it here, though, for people who want to use the horizontal storage, okay? In here, this is where your drive system will plug in. I do recommend putting dielectric grease on both of these. This kayak is brand new. It's not going to the water yet, so we haven't done that. This will just plug in like so. Push it in there real nice and good. You do have another through hole right here that will allow you to install your transducer, bring the transducer cable up, and go through this hole. We'll probably do an install video for a fish finder on this kayak, okay? And that's really it. You got a lot of room in here to run wires through. Obviously, or if you ever run wires through there, it's easier to use like an electrician's tape to run the wires through there. But we'll talk about some of that stuff when we do the fish finder install. That's nice, a lot bigger than the old style. Coming back, standard mounting system for the PDL drives. The spacers that we make, they do fit this. We'll go into a lot more detail about the aftermarket stuff in other videos, okay? We mentioned these rod holders. Let's skip out and we'll talk about these tracks. I think the nice thing about these tracks is they put screws a whole lot closer together than they have been known to do in the past. These screws do go into inserts, which is nice. That's going to give you a stronger mounting situation. I do not like that it's not, I don't like that it's above the kayak. You can see how it's above the kayak. And I don't like how there's no support on the outside. That means anything that you mount on here, and I didn't bring an example, so say you put a mount on here, now it's going to be sticking outside of the kayak, you know, this far wherever you put it. I'm not a real big fan of that. It did allow them to make the cockpit feel larger, but now everything that you mount is going to be on the outside of the kayak, which is just going to have you getting hung up on stuff, okay? Not a terrible thing, just something to see, okay? You do have the same through-hole plugs. You have one here, one there. This is just a mirrored image. I know you guys can't see it, but you have the little mesh holder here to put whatever you want to put in there. Access to these carry handles on the right side over here, and maybe the lighting's a little harsh, hope not. You have a forward-facing rod holder. This plate here just allows access to the pulley system that's in here. That's all it does. I've taken it off. Here, we can take it off real quick with that drill. That way you guys can have an idea. And this is just a plate off the front of a big water or a predator. I've been using that plate for a long time for a lot of stuff. The pulley's right here, right behind there, and that just gives you access. That is there for rigging purposes, okay? We'll just set that back on there for now. I better probably tighten that back down a little bit though. Be careful when you do this. You don't need to cross thread anything. I would use a screwdriver for that. It's not lined up. So we'll just leave it there until I can come over that side. Over here on this side, you do have your steering control system. The steering knobs that we make, all that good stuff does work with this without any issues, okay? So now let's go back to the middle. We'll talk about the seat. They put the seat on a sliding gear track. Now, Native, I think New Canoe, bunch of different companies been doing stuff like that for years. Can't say I am the biggest fan of that. It will allow you to slide the seat forward and backwards depending on where you need them for your height. We did check it earlier. There isn't quite as much adjustability in this setup than there is in like the traditional PDL that has the seat sliders. I think it was about 3 inches. This has about 3 inch less travel forward and backwards than the standard PDL systems prior to the Pro. Other thing is, this is kind of annoying. Remember, it's locked in, okay? And the strap, we can tighten the strap down. It still goes back and forth. That's been a big complaint about the PDL, so we made spacers. So we'll make some kind of shim. That way we can stop that, because stuff like that is annoying when you're on the water, okay? Coming back from there, now obviously this kayak needs a battery, right? So the battery goes in that hatch. Now, it would be pretty cool to pull this and then pick up the seat and get into there, but you can't because of this system. So to move the seat forward, you have to loosen all 4 of these to get access to here. Now I know a lot of people are going to want to take this will be here, they're going to want to store stuff underneath here. But whatever you store underneath there, you have to loosen this. And then if there was stuff underneath there, you'd have to go, that's a hard reach there. You'd probably have to go around to get it. Jack's gonna loosen that one. You could also reach underneath here if you don't have anything there, but people are gonna wanna put stuff underneath there. So anytime you go to change out the battery, you're probably gonna be annoyed somehow because you have to slide this forward like that to get in here. Once you get into there, this is the battery. Left it to the side on purpose so you guys could see. Now it's just gonna slide in here. Nothing to that. Got a little grass on there. Now we never put this in here before. Just put it in there. Get this set up. Once you get this tightened to where it's supposed to be, it's probably an easy experience, okay? From there, well dang. How do we, does that lay down? Maybe it lays down this time. In the other one, it stood up. So I'm not 100% positive what the best way is. I told you guys, I hadn't consumed much information about the kayak. On the older version, it stood up. You do have a little bit more room in here, so it appears that you can actually lay this down. Once that's laid down, then you could set that up, and then you could tighten that down. So I do like that more than I like the way that it is in the big water. That one was vertical, but you have a little bit more room in here. Now that's just plug in right there. If you want to charge it, you need to remove this battery, okay? Uh, Something to consider is you can't transport the kayak with the battery installed. It even says that on the battery. It says, do not transport watercraft with battery installed. Do not charge battery while installed in watercraft. That is your warning. That way, if you break your hull somehow because this is installed in the kayak, or you charge it when it's on the kayak and it melts your kayak because it got hot, they're not going to take care of you, because you shouldn't do it anyways, because that's not a crazy policy. That's the way it should be. But remember, so now you have to move your seat forward, put your battery in, move your seat back. When you get back to the boat ramp, you have to move your seat forward, take your battery out. That stuff is going to get, for me, it's just a lot of random work that I am not a fan of, okay? Now, it could be a small nitpick thing for you guys. That's okay. Everybody's opinion is different. They're just things that I prefer to not to have to deal with. I do like that the battery lays flat now. That's nice. One of the next things that we noticed, remember, this kayak has been stored inside a climate-controlled building that is always 69 degrees, because I just don't like being hot. One thing that we noticed is when we sat in it or did anything, this is extremely easy to push down. Remember, that's just my hand, okay? Like, you can move any of this. So when you put a 250-pound person or a 200-pound person or a 150-pound person in this seat, that stuff's going to shift. When they first released other kayaks in the past, those kayaks came with zero foam. This kayak doesn't have any foam in here. This is probably a better way to look at it. Put that camera right there, you see? I can just pick up on the bottom of the kayak. This is the same stuff that everyone in the world has gave Hobie crap about for years. This is the same reason that Old Town had issues with kayaks cracking, where the PDL seat sat in that little groove, because the plastic was really thin and there was no foam support. So after a period of time, they started shipping the kayaks with foam. That way it would stop that and give the kayak more support on the inside. In my opinion, there should have been foam before they put this tray in. There should have been foam pushed all the way down this kayak. We brought this kayak outside about 3 minutes before we turned this camera on. Look how flexible this is. Now, it is a 70, we'll say 75 degrees outside. Jack's behind the camera. He has a sweatshirt on. It's not hot. Just from being out here for a short period of time, all of this is extremely flexible. I'm not a fan of that. If it had foam in there, it would help with that a ton. So if you have one, I would probably look at putting foam in there just to take care of your kayak. And I don't understand why it didn't come with foam. You could reach and access this to put foam in from the front. You can access this from the rear to put foam in. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the next 6 months, these kayaks ship with foam, okay? Remember, I'm not complaining about these things. This is far too wide of a kayak for any of the fishing that I would do, okay? We bought it for research, talk about things, make sure the parts work for you guys, stuff like that. And obviously we'll test it, and Jack plans to do a bunch of fishing from it, okay? But I'm just telling you things that aren't going to be talked about and things that you should consider, because this thing is extremely expensive, even without the ePDL. Now let's put this back on here. Another thing, they only put one strap on the seat, which we won't say is a big deal. If you are storing stuff underneath there, remember, even getting to this thing's going to be a pain in the butt for you. Now, if you have a regular PDL, not the ePDL, you won't have to get in there for the battery, so that's not a big deal. Once you get that where you want it, the easiest way to position this forward and backwards for your height is going to be to figure out where you want it, tighten this strap down, and then after you're done getting in here, put this strap, slide this to where you think it's supposed to be, put the strap on here, push it forward to where it's supposed to be, and then tighten these things down. And then that way it'll always be at your desired distance. Okay, that way you have a reference point. I would just never adjust this. Go further back, clip it in, push it till it's tight, and then tighten it down. You'll have the same distance to the pedals every time. Okay, back here in the rear, you have a huge area to put anything you want to put in there. They did put these in here, and I believe that is for I watched it. I did see a short clip about this. That is for if you mount another battery back here, you put like a Minn Kota battery tray back here, you can strap that tray down so the battery's not shifting around, okay? Now remember, even if you do that, that battery can't be there for transport. You got to take it out. What else? You got scupper holes. You got plenty of room to store things. Coming to the rear, you do have a rear hatch, okay? This is nice. It's going to allow you to get in here. It's going to allow you to, you know, put your rigging, run your wires through here, get access to this, whatever you need to do, okay? You shouldn't have to get back here to do too much stuff, though, because they put in shallow water anchor plates on both sides. Now, we have already made an adapter for this that will straighten out your NK300. It actually goes around here. Now, we sent that out today to be tested by somebody else, just so we have some user feedback. This hole right here is going to allow you to go into the kayak. That way you can go to the battery if you have the battery up here. There's just so many options for rigging, okay? There's a lot of options, all right, which is nice to have those options. Some folks will put a motor here, a power pole there. Some folks will put dual power poles, which it should work well for that. In the past, things were too close and the rudder would hit the power pole. If this was straight, the rudder would hit the power pole. If it's crooked, then the trolling motor you put back here is not straight. There's always something, okay? But not a big deal. They did a great job with that. It's nice to see. This is the standard PDL rudder. Obviously, we sell a lot of the aluminum rudders because that thing flexes. The aluminum rudder we sell will fit that, okay? Overall, like aesthetically, which is not important, like it is a great looking kayak, okay? That's not the most important thing. The look of the kayak shouldn't make that much of a difference. It's about uses. You do have the two rear facing rod holders here. You guys can't see it, but you do have the paddle holder right here. We didn't bring a rod out, but with that forward or with this horizontal rod storage, you do have a little space between here. Like, I wouldn't say that you have a ton of space to put the rods in there. If you're bass fishing and you're using, we'll say, really, really small bait casters, you should have a better ability to use that than any kind of spinning reel. I do think that most people, or a lot of people, will have vertical rod storage on their milk crates. Some folks fish small places and they can't do that, so they have to use this, all right? I guess my only major concern is how much it flexes, okay? I don't like that. It should have had foam, okay? If I am buying or using this kayak, I weigh 200 pounds. I am putting foam underneath there because I don't trust it. I really think they will release the system. Another dumb thing I don't like, and this is just stupid, we're just going to pick this up and we'll just talk about it, is the scupper holes are above these tracks, which means, and we'll slide the seat back, so, oops, that's a fail. That would be a pain in the butt if you lose that. I guess we got a little too loose over there. This whole track, as soon as you get water in here, these tracks are just going to hold water the whole time, which is going to lead to corrosion. It's one of the reasons I've never liked those tracks on the Native. If you look at like photos of Natives or even Frontiers, new canoes, from wherever you sit on that, it'll put small dimples in these rails eventually, and this will get wiped off, and it corrodes and oxidizes and just, I don't know, it just causes issues. It's silly, okay? So I don't like the idea that water is going to be able to just go in this groove and then just sit here permanently, and there's really no fixing that, okay? Hopefully it's not a big deal. They're just things that you should look at while you're using a kayak. We'll go do it on a water thing, and we'll talk more about this. I've done some videos in the past about that thing. It is pretty impressive. I would like to see this magnet closer down here to this switch. I don't like how high that is. It should be down there further. So that's interesting too. There are a few things that are interesting about the kayak. Hopefully there aren't any problems, but like everything else, anytime there's a first version of something, random things are discovered that should have probably been figured out at the factory, okay? So told you I was gonna ramble a bit, tried to be pretty thorough. What else? The scupper hole. Scupper hole, standard, same thing they've been doing for a few years. Jack, maybe you can go down there and show. Maybe you can go down there and show it. Just that universal adapter that's perfectly on the bottom of the kayak. Obviously, we sell a bunch of scupper mounts that solve that issue. A lot of scuppers in that. Another thing to consider is this is everything that comes with the kayak. You do get some dielectric grease. You get a shear pin. You get the hex head wrench that adjusts these. You get the charger that comes with the battery. You get whatever that is. This is part of the charger, and that's it. So you don't get any scupper plugs. They're available on the website. A lot of people are going to want those, but what you got? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You got 10 scupper plugs, so you need 5 packs. Yeah, if you guys have questions, just shoot me an email, and we'll make some more videos about it. Thanks for watching.